Now, the members and the family of the JCI, the family of Icare, our distinguished guest, good evening. So tonight I would like to take you through our work as Icare and our place in creating a sustainable future for everyone. And the first thing that we do as Icare is that we amplify the potentials, especially for the young people. And we also grow good initiatives. And we also look for the important ideas to amplify it across the globe. Now, our mission is to bring inspiration and innovation to society for sustainable development. And our vision is to have a sustainable and unequitable development for every individual from disadvantaged conditions in the society in order to mitigate any differences in gender, race, social, and economic, connecting academia with corporations tasked with social corporate responsibility towards improving the environment and the social capital. So our work area is education, environment, and technology. So these are our key features as Icare. We are currently operating in 12 countries. That is through our members, our partners, and our volunteers. And right now we are working in Kenya, but our major focus is expanding towards the South and Southeast Asia and South America. So that is what we are working on at the moment. And then we are also connecting researchers with local community workers. We are also an ally of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. You can check that out on their website by looking at the SDSN website. Then we aim to replicate projects in multiple countries, especially in the Global South. And we are also fostering global connections, specifically among the youth, for sustainable development. So this is a glimpse of our project. We are nurturing the youth leadership through webinar series and guest articles and mentoring and volunteering. So through these, we are giving the youth a platform to be able to show us what is happening within their communities. And also in terms of writing for us, the articles, and also in the webinar series, that is what we are doing, and also giving them an opportunity to volunteer in our programs so that we can be able to mentor them in development and in humanitarian work. So another project that we are working on is Pedal for Change. This project has been done successfully in Bogota, Colombia. And then our work is to replicate this project globally in collaboration with an organization from Colombia. So the idea is to use mobility to be able to spread the gospel of democratization. So this is a big project for us. And also we have another project that is Icare Smart Technology, fish technology. So this one aims to enhance catfish to be able to provide omega-3 to lactating mothers and children under 5. So this one we are working in collaboration with the University of Eldoret. And a few of our future projects, these are the projects that we are looking at implementing in the near future. So we have the SDGs for universities. So this one is a continuation of the SDGs for schools that we had, which was dealing with children from ages 4 to 8. But right now we are extending it to the universities in collaboration with a university from Greece. Then we have the Icare Digital Academy. Icare Digital Academy is seeking to teach the youth and the grassroots NGOs on how to mobilize digital skills and resources for change. Then we have the plastic recycling plant. So this one, it's going to be launched in Kakamega, where we are looking to recycle plastic to be able to take care of our environment. So in conclusion, Icare is its people, and we look at connecting research to the local people through a holistic development for a sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your valuable speech, Charlene, and some important aspects that you have mentioned about the development work and the demand of youth leadership. Now, in talking about leadership and working dedicatedly across borders, I would like to invite Ms. Jolita and Ryan to lead us through a nice and interesting conversation in a coffee talk style. Jolita and Ryan, please, can you proceed?
Hi, hello, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Before we begin, we'd like to again give thanks to JCI for giving us this opportunity, to present Icare Sustainability's work. Anyways, as what you have mentioned, is actually a staple of JCI, not really JCI, but of Icare, wherein we just we basically share our insights among two development workers, insights, and of course our experience. And of course our wish is not only to share our experience to all of your listeners, but also to motivate and to at least motivate your listeners. Perhaps in the future you would like to enter this development workspace, or probably involve yourselves in activities that would help alleviate the plight of marginalized communities. And of course, with me is Riane Dollar. She's actually the Vice President of Icare Sustainably. And I'm Jolita Atienza from the Philippines. I'm actually a development worker here in my country. And in my spare time, I actually support the activities and the advocacy of Icare Sustainability. Riane?
Yeah, thank you for your welcome and good day to everyone. Jolita already said I'm the Vice President of Icare. I'm from the Netherlands and I have a background in urban planning and international development studies. So maybe we can start, yeah. Jolita. How did you end up doing work in the NGO world?
Well, actually, it wasn't really, I really didn't want to enter development work. I was thinking of, after my graduate studies, I was just thinking of going back into private sector or corporate social responsibility. But then during my stint with one very small nonprofit association here in the Philippines, it was actually managed by rural bankers, I was exposed to the plight of farmers here in the Philippines, and many of them were actually unbanked. They didn't have any access to financial instruments or institutions. So I sort of probed deeper on how I can actually be involved in activities that would really help them. And of course, through my research and also attending webinars, attending seminars, I was able to learn something about NGO work. Of course, it wasn't really that direct, because prior to entering the NGO world, I was involved in I actually worked for a consultancy, and then I did corporate social responsibility. And then in 2015, then that's the time that I actually I officially joined the one INGO based also in my country. So how about you, Riane? You're the Vice President of Icare. So what made you decide to join the NGO?
Well, my story is actually very different because from a young age, I really wanted to work in development work. First, it started, I wanted to be a flying doctor, but it turned out I didn't have a talent for flying. I had more talent to work with people. So I went to study international development studies to find out how development work works and how people develop and stuff like that. And through my work as a web designer, I got connected with Icare and I got interested, and now I am here.
That's actually like very interesting, you know, at least from the very beginning, or at least when you were already studying, you really, it like shows your passion and commitment already in like, you know, doing this type of work and being involved in, you know, like helping or at least like supporting certain groups who are sometimes not really, I mean, groups are actually that are on the fringe. So since starting working for the development world, development work, I mean, what are some of the things that you actually noticed, or are there any like changes that you observe, you know, while doing this?
What I do notice is a good change is that there's becoming a more focus on young people, leadership and their potential. And I also notice a great shift towards digitalization of everything. So I think we can connect that the young people can have a role in digitalization to make sure that the whole community can go along with that. Because I also noticed that in the development work, there sometimes is a bias towards mainly Western NGOs, assuming there's a certain technological availability of knowledge and opportunities and stuff like that. That's not really always the reality on the ground. So those are the things I noticed. What about you?
But it's actually nice that you actually mentioned about, you know, the certain like maybe like bias for Western NGOs, because that's always been like part of the discussion, and it's good that you actually in a way like mentioned that one. For me, because I've been doing this in 2015, I noticed that NGOs or development is like starting to embrace partnership with the private sector or like businesses, which is actually quite nice that we're doing. Icare is actually doing this with JCI, because in the beginning when I was working for one INGO, there was a little bit of hesitancy in partnering or collaborating with certain companies or private sector, because if you know how it is, like some have not so good reputation and image, but now they see that this private sector has actually a lot to offer in terms of like practices and of course like the funding opportunities and also the strategy. So now we can see, you know, not really slowly, but then, you know, funding opportunities are being provided by the private sector, and then also even like certain practices like ROI that was never part of the language of INGOs or in our world. But now it's actually being adapted in the concept of return of investment and also like project management. So in a way, that is actually what I notice. It's entering this development space. You also would like to also ask you, because it's been, you know, like, you know, it's in, you're like making the decisions also for Icare. Do you believe like your work is making an impact?
Yeah, I certainly do. It is. Because it's always, for sure, it's always good to believe you have an impact, because that shows also in the work you do. If people believe in the organization, they also will believe in their own capacities. But I also notice a big difference from last year to now, the project we've achieved, and the articles that are published and the voices that are heard now. And you also see that there are more people interested to write articles for us. That also shows that we're getting somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually like good to know. It's also like my observation. Like, of course, like, you know, personally or like as an individual, it's kind of difficult to see if your work is making an impact. The impact is more on like, you know, like collective. Sometimes it's hard to quantify, but I do believe like what you mentioned about, you know, these articles. These are actually you're creating in terms of like or amplifying, as what also Caroline mentioned, amplifying the presence of marginalized communities or certain groups. So we're giving them that spaces wherein they can be more visible, and then they can also in a way promote their advocacies and also their insights, because sometimes those who are not really part of this work, they have like certain understanding, but there are underlying factors that actually need to be addressed and discussed. So yeah, it's actually good that at least our impact, our perspective on that is like meeting halfway. So do you believe, of course, I think Icare is actually doing this, but do you believe that you have created enough space for young leaders to flourish?
Yeah, this is an interesting question, Yolita, because I'm kind of a young leader myself as well. So I mean,
yeah,
and I'm part of the space I create. It is a very interesting place to be in. I think we made a good start, but definitely there are things we want to do in the future once we grow and we get more connections and stuff like that. So we're also open to work with other people, of course, because like Icare has its people. I think the start is there, and now we're in an interesting journey where we will meet more people, and then the space will grow as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is actually a good opportunity for us, like this initial collaboration with JCI. Well, as for me, I'm not maybe as fortunate compared to you, like working in a way directly with youth, with young leaders, perhaps, because in my work I do partnerships, and then also like project management, and then like resource allocation. But there are also like certain aspects wherein I sort of like also had to work or like coordinate with young leaders, for example, like youth organizations, the LGBT community in my country, and most of these communities are actually like led by youth, by youth organizations. And we, in a way, when we partner with them, we gave them that space wherein they were like again able like to promote their work. And also, I do remember we partnered when we were trying to partner with young organizations, with organizations that we wanted to help in the one project for the disaster risk, and we tapped one youth-led organization that did interpretative dance. It was basically trying for communities to know more about WASH, like water hygiene, and they were able like to do it through interpretative dance. So yeah. What's this? Do you think what? Because like like what you said previously, you've made massive activities also with youth leaders. Where do you think they can create a massive impact? Although you already mentioned about the technologies and so on.
I think the most massive impact is achievable by actually connecting as youth leaders. Because I've noticed that all over the world, there are people with similar intentions and passions about it, but now they feel sort of alone sometimes. So I think the most impact can be achieved by collecting them and somehow giving them mentorship and access to the knowledge they need to execute their project successfully. Like, because youth leaders usually have the passion and the drive, but they lack maybe self-knowledge, or they lack maybe planning skills, or maybe they lack how to focus on one thing, or maybe they lack organizational skills, maybe they don't know how to write like a fundraising for international NGOs, but they do have like the good ideas. So I think that's how we can have the most impact, by helping the people who are already doing the good things better.
Yeah. That's actually like, it's also like very interesting because like, youth, for example, they do have they can like really maximize the digital technologies, and they do have the ability to really explore and really test this digital technology when it comes also like to advocacy and other undertakings that actually can help, like again, like amplifying and making sure that the goals and the targets are actually like met. So actually that's a good point that you mentioned. Also like support, I think you've mentioned it already about their access to funds, because of course we do know that youth leaders and youth organizations are actually being tapped now, but then again there are still insufficient, the support is still insufficient because they don't have the funds, and they don't have, sometimes they don't really, the visibility is still not there. So there's a need for us, even like for example like for Icare, to really network them to, you know, to organizations, or for example network them, for example, to JCI, which has like a global presence. So again, like, you know, like last question, I guess, for the both of us, what do you think are techniques or tips that you can share for those, you know, aspiring to be a youth leader, for example, or for those who would like to help, or those who would like to again, like to enter this NGO world or development world?
Yeah, I first want to add one more point to the last point, because one other thing youth needs to have support is not only funding for their project, but also some kind of funding for their personal life. Because I also noticed that sometimes youth have a lot of responsibilities for their families and their own career, and that makes it difficult for them to dedicate a lot of free time to the work they do. So I think that's also something to consider. And the tips I have for people who either want to support young development workers or young development workers themselves is that we need to have some kind of global connections. So they need people who are like-minded. So you can bounce off ideas, you can get feedback, but also get mentorship. Maybe you can help each other. Like, I know how to build websites. Maybe somebody else knows how to do social media. And so connect to help each other. And also to motivate each other to keep going, because sometimes what happens in the world is pretty bad, and then you can connect with like-minded people to keep your spirits up as well. And another thing is that somehow we need to teach the young leaders how to focus, because it's very tempting in this day and age to have like a million different things going on. But the more things you focus on, the less you actually will be able to achieve in a real sense. So maybe that's a combination of like personal development and project planning, but helping them to focus. So maybe one person focuses on gender equality, and then another organization can focus on the education part. But by the focus, more can be done.
Mm-hmm. That's actually like very meaty and actually very in a way that would really help. I mean, for my end, it's just for those who would like to, you know, again, like, because we're both already working for development. If, you know, like the development work in development sector can sometimes be a little bit biased for certain types of personalities. So if you want, you can start by, you know, volunteering your time, you know, because like for those who are working in the development, that would really, in a way, it would really, in a way, show your commitment and your passion in you know, in like helping your community, helping communities, especially those who are actually marginalized. So again, that's the end of our 15-minute coffee conversation, like with Riane, and also like with me, like Julita. So I guess before we end, maybe Riane, do you want to say something about mentoring and volunteering that you want to offer?
Well, yeah, thank you, Yolita. Yeah, we've talked about mentoring and volunteering and guest writers and stuff. And if anyone who is joining this webinar is interested in it, they can contact Icare through our website or social media, because you have to practice what you preach.
Okay,
yeah.
So thank you so much again for that. Again, thank you, JCI. So I now give the floor back to Saif Alam.
Thanks, Riane and Julita, for an exclusive coffee talk. And that was a quite informative and interesting way to educate young leaders. And thank you, Riane, for the opportunity to help our leaders. As the Tunis said about youth leadership and its involvement in the development work to achieve SDGs, let us try to get a deeper understanding of another notable platform, which is called JCI. And one of our JCI chapter is JCI Dhaka Cosmopolitan, Bangladesh, and their work. Now, to get an idea of that, I would like to request Mr. Saifuddollah the President of JCI Dhaka Cosmopolitan, to give his valuable speech.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Saif. It's a great event that we're having today. I'm Saifullah, the local 2021 president of JCI Dhaka Cosmopolitan. I'll give you a brief about what JCI is. JCI stands for Junior Commerce International, is a non-profit organization of young active citizens aged 18 to 40 who are engaged and committed to creating sustainable impact in their communities. Our mission is to provide development opportunities that empower young people to create positive change. We are part of JCI Bangladesh. Our national president is Niaz Morshed Elit. Our general secretary is Rumana Chaudhry. We have 17 chapters in Bangladesh. We earlier had 14, 3 new chapters got added this year. And JCI Bangladesh, JCI Dhaka Cosmopolitan is one of the local chapters out of these 17 chapters. JCI Dhaka Cosmopolitan was founded in 2013, and since then, we have been tirelessly working to identify problems in the local community and enact substantial actions. Till date, JCI Dhaka Cosmopolitan has completed projects on more than 5 SDGs and plans to continue doing so. And we look forward to collaborate with you guys since we saw that you have been involved in a lot of projects. And I think, hopefully in the near future, you guys can join us in Bangladesh to collaborate together and do better with JCI community, and we can do more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saifullah. Now I would like to invite Aisha Saeed, Executive Vice President of JCI Dhaka Cosmopolitan, to briefly provide some detail about our flagship project, Project Ananya.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, visible. Okay. So good evening, everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about one of our flagship programs, which is the Project Ananya. So as you can see from the slide, it's about stopping child marriage here in Bangladesh. And I was just reading today, and what I found out again is that out of the 50% women in Bangladesh, 50% of the women in Bangladesh who are in their 20s have actually been married before they turn 18, which is really sad. And out of this, this percentage, 18% of these girls were actually below 15 years old. So child marriage is something which is absolutely rampant in our country, irrespective whether it is in the urban or the rural areas. So as a team, JCI last year, what we did was we planned to do something for the society, but we also wanted to definitely align with the UN Sustainable Goals, which we think is something that we as youth need to volunteer and make it a reality. So if we could just briefly walk you through the project, when we devised the plan for Project Ananya, which is to eradicate or to stop and to campaign against child marriage, we found out a couple of things. It actually matches with 8 of the goals of the Sustainable Goals of the UN. The first one is no poverty, because we feel that child brides are more likely to be poor and stay poor. And of course, zero hunger. Child brides and the children are more likely to be malnourished because the brides themselves are young, so they can't really take care of themselves. How can they take care of their children? And good health and well-being, that is also one of the UN goals. And we found that child marriages threaten girls and that of their children, the health and well-being. And there's a very big rate of infant mortality, and also these young mothers die during giving birth. Because of of course physically they are not ready to be mothers. And then we also found that this also aligns with inclusive and quality education, because once a child does get married, especially in the rural parts of the country, that is it. That is the end to her formal education. And of course, it also marks to volunteering for gender equality, because we feel that child marriage keeps us from achieving the gender equality, which we really thrive to do in this in the South Asian subcontinent. And of course, economic growth, definitely when the child is not able to get an education, of course, the economic growth gets hampered. So this is also touching that part of the UN goal, and reducing inequalities, of course, because what happens is the most poorest of the poor families actually first they get pressurized by social norms, and and they sometimes feel that the girl child is a burden, and as a result, a lot of inequalities happen. And so this is also one of the other goals. And finally, peace, justice, and strong institutions. With early marriage, when the female is not ready or understands the concept of marriage, she does end up becoming a victim to a lot of violence as well. So these were some of the sustainable goals that we kind of looked at, and we felt that these goals can be fulfilled if we were to run Project Anona, and which we successfully did last year. So, so the objective was basically to conduct an awareness program to prevent early marriage of school-going teenage girls in a very rural area, to reduce the number of deaths due to teen pregnancies. So what we did was we went to a school, predominantly in our country, we have separate girls' schools. So we went to a village which is around 50 kilometers away from Dhaka city in a rural area. And over there, we went to a girls' school, and we did a session with these girls from the age of 14 to 18. What we did was we had although the session was for schoolgirls, but we were lucky with the help of one of our team members, Alisa, who is here. It was with the help of her father, we were able to organize the local community men as well to be present in the seminar. So because we felt that the awareness is just not about the girls, but the awareness is for the people, the men in the society as well, because if they don't get convinced, there is no way that the women in the community will also be convinced to stop child marriages. So we also took doctors with us who elaborately spoke about some taboo topics which are never spoken about in the rural villages, such as women's health, menstruation cycle, or early pregnancy, right? So, and we also spoke about hygiene, as menstrual hygiene as well. So when we spoke about these things, we also had a representative from the local government, from the Women's Health Ministry, who also was by our side to talk about government's propaganda in eradicating child marriage. So we also talked about the helpline number where the girls can report in case they are in case they are pressurized into child marriage. So we did that part of the awareness as well. And finally, we took an oath with all these girls where, they promised that, should they be objected to child marriage, they will definitely, inform the school authorities and their local community. And we try to get a buy-in from the local community as well. And we, of course, partnered with schools and the Ministry of Women and Children's Affairs, because we had to get the government involved in a project like this, because this is, once again, something that the government feels very strongly about. And of course, at the end, how do you measure whether, if the girls have actually been prevented from child marriages? So what we said was that we were going to do a survey at the end of the term to check how many of these girls really ended up completing this school, right? If they were dropouts, that would be a sign that, somebody has been married off. And the school principal had agreed that she would give us the rosters. And finally, for this year, what we're planning to do is we want to take one step further and create an awareness session where we will like to equip these girls around financial education, and if possible, we want to make them independent so that they don't think that marriage is the only solution for a better life, so that we can help them with an income source, so that equip them with animal husbandry or handicrafts so that they can be financially independent, and also to partner with local business people or traders so that there's a supply chain made, so that the products of the handicrafts or the feeds or the producers of their animals are actually being sold, and so that they can have an income source. And also we wanted to introduce the children to learn about the value of money and to start saving from an early age. So we we would want to introduce them about the banking system. And finally, last but not the least, what we felt that without the local community being absolutely involved, it would be absolutely impossible to stop child marriage, especially in rural areas where it is so rampant. So we thought that we do want to develop community spokespersons and who would act as polices, so that they can speak up every time they see some kind of anomaly going on in terms of child marriage in that community, and also to have some kind of gatherings in the villages, in their bazaars, where, the local people, they talk about, they have these dramas, or they do about these, awareness sessions where they continues to talk about eradicating and stopping child marriage. So this is about Project Aruna. We as JCI, we have been passionately driving it last year, and because of the Corona situation, we haven't been too much mobile in the first quarter of the year, but definitely we want to go ahead and implement the second phase as well. That's it from my side. If you have any questions, thank you very much.
Thank you, Aisha Saeed, for your wonderful presentation on Project Aruna. Now we are heading to the last part of our webinar, which is to get some idea about the field of community engagement and mental health, for which we have an expert from United States. Her name is Thao. So, hello, Thao, are you there?
Thank you so much. So my name is Tao. Thank you, JCI and Icare, for allowing me to be here today to share more about mental health in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals. So we can go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about me. I spent the last 7+ years in the social impact space, including nonprofit and social enterprise. I was helping to develop programs and careers for folks with non-traditional backgrounds, as well as health technologies, increasing access to healthcare in the US. Additionally, education technology, where I was able to meet Caroline and Rianne and hear about the wonderful work that they're doing to collaborate and help them build capacity, as well as other nonprofits around the world in international development. And now I'm in the digital mental health space, which I'm excited to share more context with you all about today. My roles have been in consultation, product operations management, and strategy and business operations. And related to JCI, which I really appreciate your mission here, I've also done some youth leadership programming and development within my community as well. My expertise does lie at the intersection of technology and social impact. So leveraging technology to create greater meaningful social impacts. Next slide, please. So this session's agenda, I believe this might be a older version of the deck, but that's fine. So we'll go into mental health, kind of just explaining what that is briefly. We'll go into the relation with the SDGs, like how are they connected, and then the call to action and what I believe could be next steps or stuff that I have researched on. So in terms of mental health, what is it? It includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It only not affects how we think, but also how we feel and how we act. Who does it affect? It affects everyone. It can affect our family members. It can affect us, our friends. Over 400 million people worldwide currently experience mental health issues. So to me, that shows that there is a dire need for resourcing and education. Why does mental health matter? It can affect every aspect of our lives, whether it's our relationship with ourselves, our family, our friends, or in the workplace. It does show up. And 800,000 people per year do commit suicide, or every 40 seconds someone commits suicide, and that is directly correlated with mental health. And what is its relation to the SDGs? The obvious one is number 3, regarding good health and well-being, but in the later slides, we'll see that it's intertwined with the other SDGs as well. The World Health Organization did say a good state of well-being is where individuals realize their potential, can cope with normal challenges in life, can work productively, and contribute to their community. Next slide, please. So I do think that it would be remiss of me not to highlight that COVID-19 has affected us all. This global pandemic came along with economic crises. It came along with political instability, racial injustice, and of course, increased mortality and inequitable access to care, which I believe all exacerbate increased mental health issues globally. Next slide, please. So a little bit on the history of mental health and the SDGs. Before the SDGs, there was the Millennium Development Goals developed in 2000 to tackle global issues from poverty and hunger to increasing maternal health and environment sustainability. However, it wasn't until 2015 when the Sustainable Development Goals were made that included mental health. And this was largely in contribution to a global initiative called Fundamental SDG, which made up of a lot of organizations and individuals that advocated for mental health awareness and resourcing. Next slide, please. Before I get into the SDGs, I do want to kind of capture what intersectionality looks like in terms of mental health. So we are all multidimensional. There are a lot of things that make up who we are, and that also relates to mental health. Your gender, for example, in research, you see that women tend to experience more mental health surrounding domestic violence, while men may find more mental health surrounding substance abuse. In terms of race, I think that's a pretty obvious one, especially here in America, where Black people may be experiencing more stressors and there may be more unequal access to get the care that they need. Socioeconomic, geopolitics, your sexuality, for example, when it comes to the youth, those that are part of the LGBTQ community do try to commit suicide or have depression at a rate of 1 to 3 times their heterosexual counterparts. And of course, there's genetics and many more as well. Next, please. So I think this is missing a slide, actually. Let me see if I can share. No? Yeah, I think this might be missing a slide here. But that's fine.
Talk about it. So
yeah, we'll just go to the call to action. So what I believe are the next steps, which you can also refer to the World Health Organization's mental health plan of 2013 that they created, which is amazing and is a guide and resource. Number 1 is the obvious one, is government policy and legislation. Number 2 is leveraging technology to increase access. I believe that we can bridge the gap of inequality by using technology and digital tools. Next is having a holistic approach to mental health, in that there are many ways that mental health affects us in education, in physical health, and it's all interrelated and we cannot separate it from our mental health. And then finally, destigmatizing mental health problems. When you look at the other call to actions, they may take more time and may take more stakeholders, but I believe that destigmatizing mental health problems can be done immediately in an individual basis. I think it starts with us and how we look at mental health, understanding that it is a spectrum and knowing that it shouldn't be taboo. And if you need help to get it, and if other people need help, to help them and their communities find ways to deal with that as a community, not as an individual problem. So I'll leave it at that because I know I'm probably taking up a lot of time. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tao, for the wonderful presentation. So that's all from the webinar. Now the floor is open for the listeners who have any question or have any comment. You can surely ask. So from our live listeners, if you have any question, someone?
Well, I don't have any question, but I have a comment. Can I share?
Oh, of course, of course.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. This is Ambassador Noor Ahmed from Bangladesh. I'm connected with so many international organizations as a youth leaders. I'm the Youth Ambassador of Access to Human Rights International. Even I'm the event coordinator of Global Youth Mental Health Awareness Australia. And I'm the country chairperson of Guild of Youth Leaders International Philippines. It's really honor to me to be here because I have learned so many things about the Icare Sustainability and JCI Cosmopolitan current activities and the probable future project for the sustainable development. It was really inspiring to me. I have to say the heartiest thank you to the Riane, Caroline, Tautran, Isabel, Saifullah, Saif brother and Shaikh brother, and the entire team to actually make this session more insightful and fruitful. And yes, and so as I am connected so many international organizations, so hopefully in future, I will, with the collaboration of the Icare Sustainability as well as the JCI Cosmopolitan, we will arrange some webinar for the youth movement, for the SDGs, the aim development. Thank you. Thanks for giving me the floor.
Thank you. That would be an honor to work with you, sir. Any other question or comment?
There is a question from our FB Live that is like, what are your advice to the non-profit organizations regarding fundraising process? That goes to Caroline or
Rian?
Ria.
Maybe Caroline can take that. She's the expert on that.
Caroline?
Hello?
Caroline,
Can
we
you
have
repeat the question?
Yes,
Please?
the question is, what are your advice to the non-profit organizations regarding fundraising process?
Oh, great. Now, the fundraising process is a process that you need to really plan and also have some preparations for your organization. For example, you need to look at various things before you're ready to start fundraising, in terms of how do you record your financing and your projects. How can you be able to present yourself to the outside world to be able to be attracted to your organizations? So this is actually a whole lesson on fundraising. And maybe what they can do, I can advise them to do is maybe enroll on a free course on fundraising at Philanthropy University that will give them very good tips on fundraising and planning for fundraising.
Can I also add on that?
Yeah.
Because I also did resource allocation for my previous work. Anyways, one step is also for an NGO, because you can also like collaborate with a bigger NGO, because consortium is actually becoming a big now in the NGO world. So perhaps you can also try to tap or align yourselves with one, and you can do one section of the deliverable. Also, for example, if you want to fundraise, if you want to identify, because private companies now are also, again, like what I mentioned in the beginning, they're actually entering this space. You try to find ways with your objectives and fit that with the objectives of the private company. But because of course you cannot require them to fit their objectives with yours, so you find ways on where you can meet their mission and vision. And also like do research. For example, a lot of upcoming funding agencies from the Arab world and Middle East are really now providing a lot of funding and grants. So perhaps you can also try to tap them.
Thank you, Jolita. I think another question from our member, I think Shai can answer that. How Icare wants to work here in Bangladesh, and what will be the sector Icare are interested to work?
Yes, actually, I have partially answered there. So basically, as Caroline mentioned, that the innovative projects or the objectives that related to the education, technology, and a few other development aspects. So this way, slowly, actually, Icare is tapping the youth platforms and some of the other active members from Bangladesh. So mostly it would be around education, technology, and environment. And for more details, I think it would be better to check the website. And already Rian shared the website link from which they can take and have a more look. Of course, there might be some other specific detail or future collaborations. So, they can email us so that we can actually have more collaboration. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I think there have been no other question. I would request Mr. Shai to say something, concluding part on behalf of Icare.
Yeah, I have a small question and then probably I'll go to that. So I have a small question to Thao. and that is related to, so we know that the mental, due to the mental disorder and with the higher level of depression during the COVID pandemic, so the use of substances among the guys and men are getting a bit higher. So what one can be what can be one good alternative that you can propose which will help prevent, the use of substances, especially to the youth of the developing countries?
Yes, thank you for the question. I will preface this by saying I don't know if I'm the expert to answer this, but I can answer it to the best of my abilities. In that I think it starts with the culture and the language that we have around depression or anxiety. Perhaps men feel a certain need to handle or manage their emotions themselves. And I think that is one of the related causes to alcoholism or substance abuse, is that people feel like they have to go through it themselves. And if we as a community are able to be more of a resource for folks and be able to make it not so taboo to talk about our emotions in an open way, I think that would be helpful.
Thanks. So now I'd like to invite Rian to, give us some direction about the post-webinar thing and related to the certificates. Rian, please go ahead.
Oh, yeah, thank you. We want to honor all the participants for being here today by giving them a certificate of attendance. And to get that, I think the organizer will provide you with a link with a very short survey where you can give your opinions on this webinar and tell us about potential future subjects. And when you fill it in, we can provide you with the certificate.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, expecting more collaboration to happen. And of course, those who have shared your interest, your points and your interests are noted. So with this, we're at the very end of the webinar. Now I would like to request Saifullah Bhai to come forward and give his closing remarks. After that, Saif will organize a group photo and then we will end it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was indeed a great webinar. We got to learn a lot of things, especially how an NGO is run and how to raise funds and how we can work together in collaboration, in terms of different projects. Like I have seen, especially the fish farming projects, the digital academy and the plastic recycling fund projects are very attractive things that we can do together in Bangladesh as well. Because we do, JCI Bangladesh has a certain program which we follow worldwide, that is a cleanup day we have, which we celebrate every year. And what we do is we go out and with help of our members and community members, we try to clean the city. So there's something which we can collaborate for the plastic recycling plant. I think other JCI local chapters have similar recycling project. Maybe in the future we can collaborate with that. And then with the Digital Academy, we do have, yes, training sessions in JCI. Maybe we can collaborate with Icare to have similar sessions in regards to career youth development along with community development. So there is something where we see we can collaborate again. And with the, as we have done Project Corona, and if possible, we can also replicate this in different countries as well, especially in the African countries where I think they have similar issues regarding to women health, child marriage, and other tribal disputes. And also maybe we can collaborate Project Onanna and replicate that into other countries. And recently we have done a project where we have donated to the unprivileged people during the COVID sessions. And also we have done this project where we have called it Address of Happiness, where we've distributed blankets and mosquito nets to unprivileged children and old age home cares. And recently we have distributed iftar for the whole month of Ramadan. And then the next project which we're going to do is do a health camp for unprivileged children and old home people who doesn't receive the overall healthcare facilities. That will be free, that will be done through our community doctors and all. So maybe I think we can be able to collaborate with everybody. And I think this will be something which we can look forward to do so. So thank you very much for everyone to come in from internationally, from different parts of the world, and also from our local chapters and from our local JCI Dhaka Cosmopolitan members to come in. And thank you very much for giving your time in the month of Ramadan. I wish you all a great good evening and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Can you give a full screen so that we can take a picture? Bye-bye.
Let's all say cheese. So in that way, everybody will be laughing. The picture will come out great. So I'll say 1, 2, 3, go say cheese. Again, 1, 2, 3, say cheese. Okay. I think we had a good one.
Thank you. So that's all from us. Thank you all for making time to attend the webinar and staying with us with patience. We are having a difficult time all around due to the pandemic. So everyone, please be safe, wear masks in public and sanitize your hands frequently and eat healthy. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Thank you very much.